2 seconds to get to my seat. Ooh, there we go. Hi everyone, it's Kieran from 81 Vintage and welcome to my live video on this Friday evening. Today we are going to be doing some fun Christmas crafts, coming up with a really fun, unique design for Christmas this year. I'm really looking forward to Christmas. I am looking forward to having some more time. Normally with work and stuff like that, you end up working right up until Christmas unless you take some time off, and then you end up doing as much as you can really be bothered doing, which for me it's normally a bit minimal because it always comes down a couple of days later, because in my house all the Christmas has to be down by New Year's. So let me know what your rules are and if you have rules like that. But this year I'm looking forward to it because it's really the first year that we've had no projects or big work projects in the house. Last year we installed a marble floor in the kitchen and hallway, and this year we have nothing big like that other than clearing out the house and getting all the furniture and everything else into the booth. Just wanted to say a massive thank you to everybody who has been watching my videos, who's caught yesterday's video and left me some feedback, and for those of you who have joined over the past 24 hours from my short video that went out, welcome, and hopefully you'll enjoy some of the crafts. For today's project, this is, I sat down the other night and I was looking for something vintage, and I was thinking, what can I create? And then I was looking through, and as you know with me, I didn't want to do anything that just wasn't me. So there was lots of things that I could come up with, but they weren't my style. So then when I spotted these vintage style choir boys, I thought that would be a great project. And I actually think these would be a great thing to be able to sell in my booth. So that's what we're going to create today. And these are actually inspired by a design from 1957. They're very expensive. You would buy a kit and then it would have cutouts like this, and you would glue them onto plywood and you would cut them out and you would layer them on top of all the different layers to be able to create these things. But we're not going to do all that. I've cheated, I've made it easier for you. I've recreated the artwork from the original 1957 designs, and we're going to do something else. Well, we're going to use that style, but we're going to do it in a slightly easier way. So what I have done, I popped that to one side. That's a black and white printout that I made, and I will include a link to the graphics. I'll add that to the description after the video is finished, the live. So I've cut out this shape on just a piece of old board that was in the garage, and I've spray painted the back black just because it was easier. And we're going to be decoupaging on a colour version of the choir boy. So to start with, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a coat of Ferny paint on this, on the front side, and this is just the colour Antique White. This is an old piece of laminate that I actually got from the DIY store. They had this on the wall, and it would have been used to advertise like the colour of their laminate flooring. And when they change their range, often they take the pieces off and they put them in their scrap wood pile, and they're normally like £1. So I paid £1 for a huge piece of this, and I'm going to get 2, possibly 3 of these from that single pound. So it's a really good way of taking some inexpensive wood and upcycling it, and I'm going to be adding these to my booth. So these will be on there. I've seen them on Instagram. I've seen a few people with original ones. Obviously very hard to find, so I thought, well, why not, you know, we can make that, so why not make it? So I'm giving this a very quick coat of Fernie Painting Antique White, and this is just going to serve as a base layer for our decoupage, and it will just brighten the graphics up if you can see any of that through the paper. And if we distress them and we hit this white, that won't be a problem. So just giving that a quick coat, and again, if you have seen my videos this week, you'll know antique white is highly pigmented. We added extra pigment to it to make sure that it goes on super nicely. Because this is so slick, there's a bit more streaky in it, but if it was a bit more of a matte finish, then that would cover in completely one coat. So I'm gonna let that dry. Looks like one of those shoot and range target things. I'm gonna just pop that next to me for a moment, and then we'll move on to let that dry, and then we'll move on to cutting out the papers. So I've printed these off in colour. I've divided up the image into a smaller image. No, sorry. I've divided the image up into smaller pages, because to have a poster printed this size can be very expensive. But if you can get A4 sheets printed and piece them together, that's a lot more cost effective. So all you have to do is just piece them together and glue them on, basically. So that's what we're going to do. So on here are little lines where you need to cut and line them up, so that each piece glues up to each one, butts up to each one. So all I'm going to do is just cut through the various lines, and you can see there is the head. So I found the original prints. If you were to find one of the original 1957 designs, then they would cost you upwards of $160 for the original prints. And then I found someone on eBay who had scanned the original prints and would send you a PDF, which is essentially this, for $18. So cheaper, but I'm giving you it for free. So completely for free. And all you have to do is just piece them together. And I would love to see what you do with them. I'm thinking about making a set of 3 of them. This wood isn't rated for outdoors, so I'm going to keep them indoors for my ones. What's that bit? That's that bit. So I'm going to keep mine indoors, and I'm thinking about making a set of 3, 1 big one, 2 small ones for either side, so that they can sit together. And then I'm thinking about doing a big reindeer, so if you want me to show you that one as well, that would be great. And what else are we thinking of doing? A big Santa, big Father Christmas, looking at doing one of those. I might do that hand painted as a video. And all I'm doing now is just cutting the top piece of these along the little grey line that's on the print. So again, I'll make sure to include that link when the video is not on live, because I can't do that while I'm live. I do that afterwards. If you're and let me know if you're going to do this. I saw someone the Halloween masks, the framed ones that I did, went to a friend of mine who used to shop with us in our old booth, and she had liked a picture of these choir boys because someone on Instagram had a original vintage set of them that they, you know, must have been made back in the day, and they liked them. And I thought, well, if she likes them and I like them, then we've both got a similar sort of style, then that could be a great project. And I'd looked around for an hour or so on Pinterest looking for vintage Christmas, and I was really struggling to come up with something. And when I spotted these, I knew that they would just work really, really well. So they're really easy to do. I printed out one version of this in black and white just to save on the ink. My colour printer was on its last legs, so I printed one out in black and white, used that as a stencil or a template, and then cut that one out. I've drawn around the cutout ready to do my second one before I add them to the booth, and then I got these printed in colour, or I printed them in colour. But for the next ones that I sell in my booth, because my colour printer's just died, I'm going to go on eBay and get someone to print them for me so that I don't have to worry about that. Super easy to do. So really cost effective. And honestly, even if we wanted them in the UK, we wouldn't be able to find them. So I just thought that would be a really fun thing to have. This year. And in my booth, I think I'd charge maybe £30–40, something like that for them, depending on how good they'll come out, and we'll find out on this video how good they do turn out. So yeah, so it's been quite a busy week adjusting to everything that's been going on. We've had Storm Kieran going on today, spelt differently but still the same name, and just before the video our gutters outside developed a problem and were lashing all the rain down onto the main window here. So if you could see, I've actually got a blanket across both windows trying to block out any noise that might have come in, because at that point it was too late to cancel, too late to rearrange, too late to move. So it is what it is. And honestly, this week has been a real challenge for YouTube. Learning how to do it, all the things, adjusting to everything that needs to be done, fitting everything in, is literally a full-time job. So much so that I was watching someone, one of the YouTube advisor type channels, and they said that someone who did the bar exam tried to do YouTube and said it was harder than the American bar exam. And honestly, after this week, I can believe that, because it's been really an interesting learning curve, but I'm still enjoying it. So that doesn't really look like much to you at the moment, but it does to me, and it would do if you were printing them out. So it's essentially a bit of a giant jigsaw puzzle. Putting these together, all I've done is just trimmed them on the edge so that that one's there. Well, maybe not. Is that one? Yeah, that's that one. Right, it might be easier to start from the head down in a second. So yeah, let's pop them to one side. I'm going to have a quick drink of tea, because I am British after all. Let's start off decoupaging. So this is really very wet. Just the weather today has been crazy. Hopefully that's not crazy loud. Just 2 seconds while I jet this. Just give this a bit of a spray. just giving this a super quick dry with the heat gun. That would just help us speed along on this. Because it's a water-based paint, you can use the heat gun a bit on it to just evaporate off that water that makes the paint. Oh, there we go. That makes the paint apply. Hopefully that wasn't too loud. Thank you for bearing with me. There is something on the heat gun which is now smoking. Just move that off. Everything was so organised for this live. Honestly, I've had to do this design. I did this design 2 days ago. I had to get up early. I had to cut this piece of wood out. Then the rain started. I've been doing a video. I've come back in to sit down to do this. And you know, everything's just gone from one thing to another. So let's get on with the decoupage. So what we're going to do is I'm going to start with the middle. Probably the wrong bit to start with, but I'm going to start with the middle. And I'm just using, oh, thanks Victoria. I'm just using the Fernie Paint Satin Sealer. So someone said to me the other day when I was doing that moth drawers, which is a viral, for me anyway, video now. Someone said well, it was Kathy Bell said, have you thought about using the decoupage, using the satin sealer as decoupage medium, because then you wouldn't have to clean the glue, wouldn't have to clean the glue from around the edge of the design. And I thought, that's genius. That just cuts out a big, massive step there. So I tried it. I did 2 of those fish tables in record time because it was so quick and easy. So that's what we're using, the Fernie Paint Satin Sealer, because it works brilliant as a decoupage medium. It does dry a bit quick, so it dries within about 5 minutes. It just sort of gets like that, sucked up into all the into the paper. So you can't, once you put it down, you can't really readjust it, but you can't really do that anyway when you do it with glue. So I just thought I would use that on this video, and it really has just made a massive difference. So all I'm doing is just lining up the lines that I cut out and just putting some decoupage medium underneath, and then going over it and just using it almost like a glue, and that just sticks it down. And now on the edge, I'm just going to push it down with my finger so that it just sticks down and doesn't lift from the edge. And all we're going to do is work from the top down, and I'm not worried about bubbles. I'm not worried about any signs of creases or anything not matching up too much, because once it's fully dry, I will give it a quick sand, and then I'm going to apply a wash of, oh, that's all wet paint. Oh, I'm going to apply a wash of burnt umber acrylic paint, which is a really nice brown colour, and it just makes it look really time aged. So what pieces do we want next? So we want his bow. So you might want to print off, I know what he looks like, but you might want to print off the full picture so you've got a reference one, or number them or name them or something better. But this behind me here is what we're aiming for, but in colour. So we're creating this but in colour. So where's that bow? The bow's there. So again, we're just going to take some of that satin Fernie Paint Sealer and pop it on. Now I was in two minds whether to paint it in white beforehand, and I think I probably should have done because it's not really dried that quickly. So maybe I should have done that, but never mind. If there's any sections that look a bit ropey, I will go over them extra with extra distressing. But we have been working on Fernie paint again this week, so I know I've said it a couple of times, we are working on getting it ready. We are hoping that it will be available for sale in the next week or so. I ordered some labels for the top of the, in fact you can actually see the problem with them. I ordered some labels for the top of the paint here, and when the label is exposed to sunlight, for some strange reason, it is the black on the logo is changing colour, which is strange, and going a bit of a purpley colour. So I went back to the people I ordered them from, and I wasn't funny or anything. I just asked if this was a thing, and you know what I might. They have lots of different sticker options, and is there one that I needed different that wouldn't do that? And they didn't reply to me, so they just ignored me. So that has delayed things by a little while, because I had all these stickers ready to go on the labels, on the bottles, and especially with, you know, money being one thing that we're keeping an eye on and everything, it's just a bit more expense. So we've had to go and order another set of labels, and I'm having to try those ones instead. So hopefully once those arrive, I can give them the okay, and then we can get that listed. I've been speaking with Mike about the names we're working on, just been finalising a couple of them, tweaking a couple of them, changing a couple of them, but I'm more comfortable with what they all are now. Just, you want to create something that's a bit different, but is also sort of in line with what they are. And actually, one that we were talking about, and Mike and I just actually really couldn't agree, but in the end I sort of thought, well, this is my idea. So we have this mustard colour, which is obviously a mustard colour, and everybody who has a mustard colour calls it some kind of mustard name, like Colonel Mustard or something like that. And I thought, well, maybe I should just be crazy and call it ketchup, because it's obviously mustard. So let me know if that is just a complete mind melt to you, or whether or not that would be marketing genius, because we couldn't agree between us. But I think the mustard colour should be called ketchup, because everybody who has a mustard colour of paint calls it mustard, and I think it should be ketchup. So if you have any thoughts one way or the other, let me know what you think. So that's his hand, and he's holding a book, and I've got a whole pile of things showing up in front of me. So if you're a couple of people just tuned, welcome. Hope you're having a great Friday night. If you're just tuning in, we are making a vintage choir boy sign, just a fun little piece of home decor. I saw these online. I saw vintage ones of them from 1957. They were, if you could get the plans for them, they were £160 for just the plans. And I've recreated the graphic for you, and you can make it at home for barely any money. And these would look fantastic around your tree, or in a front garden, something like that. If you sealed them with the right sealer, that would make them really, really fun. I'm thinking about doing a big Santa one, a big reindeer one. I'd love to do 8 how many is it? How many reindeer? Isn't it like well, as many reindeer, I'd have to Google it, as many reindeer as he has. Normally I only ever see things with like 4 of them, but as many reindeer as he has, I would love to do a large one of each. So I'm just decoupaging on with the satin ferny paint sealer. I've done a coat of white paint which hasn't dried in time. I'm just lining up the design with each section. Doesn't look right, but I think it is right, so we'll go with it. Just trying to make them look vintage and fun. Trying to line them all up. A bit awkward. So many things going on, so many things to juggle, but yeah, that's it, that's better, that's better. Pasting them down, pasting myself into a corner, cut off that bit so I don't get paint all over me, using my vintage scissors that I thrifted the other week. In fact, I'm going to budge over a bit, I think. Well, bits of plastic, I don't know where they've come from. I'm a messy crafter, I'm a messy creator, I really am. Part of what you see on the camera is only part of what you see on the camera. There's a lot of other half projects floating around. I'm trying to be tidy. Working my way down. Just gonna put some more of that down. This, as I go further and further down, that paint's just still really wet, so it is what it is. I should have done the prep, but I didn't want to do too much in advance. I need to get a super quiet heat gun, and then maybe we could do a bit more on there anyway. So pop that on and then do the other side. Where's that? Here. So I'm going to have a set of these. I'm going to have 3 of them. I'd probably be tempted to leave them all year round. When I was actually a kid, we always did Christmas choir at school and used to have to volunteer for it. And I always used to volunteer for it because I used to love learning all the carols. I probably couldn't remember every word, but at one point I knew every word from every carol. And every year I was in the choir, and we would go to a local shopping centre and we would sing for all the people. And it was really just a really nice couple of days, and they always gave us a selection box back when selection boxes were big, you know, when hi from NC in USA. Hi Jade, hi, thanks for tuning in. Is it late over in the USA now? It's about, what time is it? It's 8:30 here. Yeah, we still love selection boxes, Victoria. We always buy them in the sale. So if we ever find, you know, one of the, after Christmas, if we ever find somewhere that's got them on sale, we buy the lot. Like if they're, I don't know, £1 or I think we got them for 50p one year, and we literally bought the lot. When I say the lot, I only mean like 5. There wasn't that many left, but we bought we bought a lot, and we just added them to the chocolate drawer. But yeah, we would always get a selection box, and I always do the choir. And then one year we did a quiz in high school where that's not that bit. We did a quiz in high school where we were played literally like 2 notes from a Christmas carol, and I was able to identify every single one of the Oh, 4:30 in the afternoon. That's not too bad. That's not too bad. I was able to identify every single song just from those two notes, and that's because I loved the choir so much at that point. But I'm not a very good singer, and I've not carried it on. So that's the end of my singing days. So making my way down. I think it's gone a bit, has it gone a bit wonky? No, it hasn't. That's not that piece. Definitely, if you're going to do this, definitely lay your pieces out in advance. Have a bit more space than I've got on this table, because I think I have mixed some up a little bit, but that's not a problem because that's what distressing is for. So I will be distressing this piece because that's just how I like them. The other thing with distressing, I'm not like crazy distressing, but it also just makes it a lot easier if you knock anything, if you bash anything. We have so much going on, so many projects coming in, so many projects going out, that actually it's a lot easier sometimes just to have things with a bit of distressing, because then you can't really tell. You can't really tell if something gets caught, so I have swapped those two round. Maybe I'll do a when I do the next ones, I'll do an edited video. Might be a bit more refined, a bit more yeah, a bit more put together. But it's doing it. It looks like it, and to be honest, it saves a lot of money, because if I wanted them in the UK, if I wanted these original signs, you'd have to pony up for them a lot, or I would if I wanted them. So I'm quite happy to have something slightly imperfect if I can save the money. And to be honest, it's only out, what? Unless you put your things out really early, which we don't, it's not out for that long. So there's that. Cut those extra bits off. Pop it to one side, and then, so because it's got so much decoupage, satin sealer on there, I'm just going to take a slightly damp brush, and I'm just going to mop up any areas where it's pooled, any areas where there's too much, any areas push down on any of the creases that are coming up, anything that I can just flatten out, I can just get a little bit clearer. And I literally had two graphics to be able to make this with. So I got a picture of his head. I found a really nice clear picture of his head, and I pieced his head back together, and then I found two pictures of his body in half, and so I had to take the two halves of his body, realign them, and put them all back together. And then when I did that and I stretched it out really big, it made it really, really pixelated. So what I did then is I took my picture and I put it through an AI image cleaner, it was called, and turned it into this graphic for me, with all the little bits of black outline, made it much sharper. And then I put all the layers together in Photoshop, and I played around with it, and I said, ooh, his hands look a bit green, his body looks a bit too dark. I did a test print, and his gown thing came out like poo brown, basically. So I was like, take that off, change that bit, alter that bit, and just make it look a bit more of what I wanted it to be. And we've ended up with this. So I'm going to try and, it's still a bit wet, but I'm going to try anyway. I'm going to try and just remove this excess paper with a bit of sandpaper. So if you pop a high grit sandpaper, so this is 240 grit, and you just rub it along the edge of your piece of wood, you will catch the edge and it will just neatly create a line. It's better to go from the top down because then you won't pull your paper as much, and it literally creates a little separation line, and you can just peel it off. You can peel it away and just pull the bits off, and you're going to end up with this nice edge. And it still looks distressed, but they're the bits that I am going to age up, because that is where this type of thing would naturally wear. And then you can also rub, if we get a little bit of sealer on your finger, you can rub along those edges and just seal over that edge if you want to. So it's a bit awkward, but we're getting there. So there's that. The only problem with this type of thing is storing it. So storage is a premium. So last year we spent quite a bit of money trying to organise all the Christmas stuff into like boxes and things, and because of all of the stuff that I've been thrifting for making garlands and stuff, we put that all in the attic the other day, and of course now the attic is full. So I don't know where I will store all of these things that we will make this coming Christmas. Thanks, Jade. There's lots of, just one of those weirdy projects. When I saw it, I thought, yeah, that's much more me. So that's coming together. It's still quite damp. So I did have a cloth, which is now on the floor. I can just scoot that across. So I've got the cloth, and I'm just going to press it down, just absorb any more that I didn't get with the brush. There's quite a bit down there. Just blot that up, and any crumbs off the floor will add to it as distressing. And make that into a great sign. And as I said, I think I'm going to be adding these to my booth. I think I'm going to make just a couple out of the scrap wood that I've already got, and then if I need to, I can always buy more. So Wicks and places that, you know, the hardware stores, they sell what's known as like hardboard or underlayment, which is used in flooring when you put down like a new laminate flooring, and it's a board that you can get. It's very inexpensive, and you can do this type of thing too. So that's what I plan to do, and literally it's one of those projects that you can do in bulk, and you know, it takes an evening. This one's taken me not that long. It's taken, what, 43 minutes so far, and that's with me talking. So I think in an afternoon you could have a lot of them. Thanks, Sylvia. Yeah, I'm really pleased with these. I think it'd look quite good at the top of the stairs, but I think in the night it would look a bit weird, so, or a bit scary. So I think, I'm not quite sure, but I think in front, as you come in through the door, might be look quite good. If we had 10 of them, no, there's if we had 3 of them, and with the PDF, you can print it to scale. You can tell it to print to size as well. So I'll include that link to the PDF at the end. And so what I'll probably do is print one off full size. So this is about 120 centimeters. So what's that, about 4 and a bit foot? and I will print the other two off at about 80%, and that will then give me one big one in the middle and two smaller ones either side, and that will just look great. And I will also distress the whole thing, so I might not be able to do it on this video because it's still quite dry, quite wet still, but I might be able to do a section of it. So I'm just sanding that edge, which is just giving me a really genuine distressed look. And you know, these look like they've been just in storage somewhere for many years, pulled out every year. Super easy. You can't even really see the lines that much in them, so don't worry about, you know, if you can see the lines that much. I think once it's dried and distressed, the lines will disappear as well, and you can always add any extra. You could always go over it a little bit with a little bit of watered down paint in any areas where, or reprint that section if you do have one dodgy area. So I've lost a little bit of the hair up at the top here, but you really can't tell because they just have that evoked vintage look. And then I've gone a little bit off on the edge just at the bottom there where there's a bit of white paper showing. I'll probably just fill that in with a little bit of black paint and it'll disappear, you won't even see it. So that's really fun. They're clean, so I'm going to move them. I'm going to put the dirty ones in that pot. So there's that, and then I'm going to keep one big one. So that's how he's looking so far. So I think that looks, if I do them like that, I think that looks really cool. And if you didn't want to do the full skirt, you could cut them there. You could do a smaller skirt as well, and you could remove some of that. I think that would look fine. And I think I'm going to do 3 or 4 different sizes, and also these are great for scrapwood projects. So if you have any scrapwood in your stash, get some value out of it. Put those, in the PDF there'll be a small A4 version. I'm going to have a lot of those printed, and I'm going to cut out quite a few of them because those on shelves, just as a little shelf sitter, I think would look brilliant. So I am going to distress it, but I'm going to do it with paint. So I'm going to make it look a bit older, and also it's going to help blend together all of those seams, if you can see any of your seams. So for this, I'm going to be using just some burnt umber acrylic paint, just because I like the shade of brown. It's a bit more of a bright brown, a vivid brown. If you don't want a vivid brown, you could always go for something different. The Fernie paint brown I was using just this week on a project that will come out next week, and it's a really lovely colour for aging and distressing. So all I'm doing is just using a watered down, using some water just out of that little spray bottle and a little bit of this acrylic paint, and I'm just going to give it a coat. It'll look dodgy for a second all over, but it's giving colour and going to make this piece look old. And what it does is anywhere where you've got on the edges, it will sit into the areas. So in that area at the top here where I pulled a bit of the paper away, the paint will sit in that and it will just make it look a bit older. So it will make it look a lot more vintage. I've missed his eye, and then I'm going to just spray generally, and then I'm going to take a fluffy cloth. I find a fluffy cloth works best just for hiding the signs where it's being distressed. So, and then I just pounce over and take away from the areas where I don't want it. And if you've got a bit of stubborn distressing, or some of the paint that won't come off, add a little bit more water and that will generally remove it. So just pouncing over, distressing and getting rid of those paint brush marks as well. Just blending the whole thing together, popping all of that on. And if you don't like it, if you have a problem, if you've not done the best job or whatever, you can always just scrape it off, sand it down. This sands off super quick, and then have another go. But I don't see how you can go wrong on this type of project. And if you're quite a perfectionist or something, just go for it. Just do the one sit method. If you know me, you know I love the one sit method. It's literally where you say, I'm going to do that project, or I'm going to do that part of the project, and you cannot come back to it once you leave it. So if I say I'm going to paint something, or I'm going to distress something, I just go there and I distress it, and once I'm happy with it, I walk away, and then I can't come back to it and say, oh, a bit more there, or a bit more there, or actually I'm not sure about that, I might repaint it. I tend to try not to do that unless I'm really not happy with it, because usually the more I mess with it, the more I play with it, it's fine, but it never gets that much better. It's very rare that I say, oh, that made a huge difference, So I just do it as a one sit thing, have a go and see how it comes out, and just don't be too careful or too caring with it. And then you can leave that to dry. I'm going to give it a quick blast with the heat gun, so bear with us 2 seconds. There we go. You shouldn't really use a heat gun on varnish or satin sealer, the Fernie Paint one, but again, because it's water-based, because it's a water-based product, you can get away with a little bit of taking some of that moisture out. So you can dry it off quite quickly. It's still quite damp to the touch, but I am going to try and distress it just to show you. So once you've put your brown glaze on it, or your acrylic base or aging on it, what I then do is go back with the sanding disc and just, oh, ripped him. Right, be correct. Just very lightly, yours will be fully dry. Let's do this when you're fully dry, but just very lightly distress it. And what that does with a 240 or a very light sandpaper, that just takes off some of those, the tops off any of those ridges that you've got, and just makes them look a lot older. So it just looks so much more vintage to have that two-tone between the brown vintage, the brown acrylic paint and the white coming back through from when you've distressed it. And if you do rip it, just like I just did, just a little bit of that sealer again will pop that right back down and no one will notice. So that is how that is now looking, and I think that just looks like that has been found in the back of a department store or a church or something. It just looks so originally vintage, and really, for the cost of a couple of sheets of paper and some varnish and a little bit of time, I think that has come out really, really well. I really like how that looks, and the technique is exactly the same for any of these types of things, but we will do more. We'll do other ones as well, so reindeers, Santas, things like that. It just looks so original and inexpensive and far cheaper than the £160 that I found just for the plans alone. So I've done all the hard work for you. I have put together the graphic, and I think it would be, if you do make one, or if you tackle it, or if you do your own version on it, you don't have to do it on wood. You could do it on cardboard if you could find a big enough piece of cardboard or a big piece of poster board or something like that. You could do it on that, absolutely. That's a far more easier project if you wanted to avoid having to cut your own. Thanks, Jade. Yes, I love the vintage look as well. Everything vintage in my house as much. I've found over time that vintage stuff just looks better forever. So, you know, I'm less likely to buy modern stuff, and I want everything to look vintage now, or older. So that's just, and it all fits together so much better. So yeah, that's, if you do it with a bit of poster board, a bit of cardboard, something like that, and you haven't got a jigsaw, or you haven't got the skill, or you're not confident with it, that might be a great option as well. So thank you for joining me. So I'm gonna let it fully dry. I'm gonna let it fully dry, and then I'm gonna do that bit of distressing all over, distress the edges, and that's gonna be completely finished. I'll make a couple more of them at some point between now and Christmas, and yeah, they'll all be somewhere in the house this Christmas. I think I know where I'm going to put them, but I've got to clear a big piece of furniture that's in the way first, so we'll be painting that one on the channel. So if you're not already, please do hit that subscribe button. Also, if there's anybody who you think would be interested in this project or any of my others, please do consider sending over my video to share it with them, because at the moment one of the problems I'm having is that YouTube is is limiting me a little bit, and we need to get some more subscribers and stuff. So if we can get the video shared out, and I'm putting it in groups and things like that, so that we can build this community, so that I can share more fabulous things with you and get your feedback and stuff on them as well. So thanks so much for hanging out with me. I hope you've enjoyed this project. I will include the links down in the description box in the next, well, at some point soon. Maybe today, maybe tomorrow. Thanks for subscribing, Sylvia. I do appreciate every single subscriber. Really trying hard to build this channel. And just very quickly before I head off, if you don't already know, I was recently made redundant in August, and I've always enjoyed doing this type of stuff, and so I'm trying to go full-time in my creative business. If that doesn't produce an income by the time that the redundancy money runs out, unfortunately I will have to go back to a corporate life, so and won't be able to continue creating and crafting stuff. So if we can build a community where YouTube will pay me to help provide this content for you, that would be absolutely brilliant, and I can do it only with all your help, and I do appreciate all your help. So thanks everybody. Have a great night, have a great Friday, have a great weekend, and I will catch you all on Sunday, where I have a new video that I was working on today in the storm. So thanks so much, and I will catch you on Sunday. And if you try this project, let me know, tag me in them, because I would love to see how these turn out, these fabulous little vintage crafts. Where are we? Let's take it off. Oops. Thanks everyone, catch you later.